Gremlins, little creatures who got up to all sorts of mischief in the air and on the ground during the Second World War. They were a bit like goblins or imps or sprites, and they first flew around the end of the First World War, and they evolved from folk tales about house elves and these sorts of things. And they were a culturally shared concept that spread in the same way as the Kilroy or What No Chad graffiti spread. They went viral in 1943. Now the reason for this is that Roald Dahl's first ever story that he wrote was about gremlins. He was a fighter pilot during the Second World War, and he teamed up with Walt Disney, and they were going to make a film about it. This is a copy of the Disney Dahl book, and these are some of the gremlins. And the reason they went viral in 1943 was because of the publicity that Roald Dahl started both sides of the Atlantic for the film that was going to be made. There was a Bugs Bunny cartoon, there was advertising, they were used to advertise painkillers and sweets and all sorts of things. But the film was never made. This was largely because of copyright issues. Disney was never convinced that Roald Dahl owned the copyright to Gremlins. He said he did. The evidence is there that he didn't. I'm really interested in what Gremlins look like and what they got up to. There were both male and female sorts of gremlins, and in some stories they are just mischievous creatures, and in others they also help and help pilots and perform good deeds as well. In the US, they tend to look an awful lot like the Disney versions. They're sort of more like leprechauns. In the UK, they tend to be more like goblins or elves or imps. There's an interesting one in one of the books where there's a gremlin who's called Butch. I'm suspicious that he might have been modelled on Arthur Harris. Interestingly, in Lincolnshire, in 1 of 5 group, the drawings and cartoons that we've seen, that we found in the IBCC Digital Archive, they tend to look quite a lot like the Lincolnshire imp. So that's one avenue that I'm keen to explore and looking for more instances to see if I can make this argument. Why did the RAF like them? Well, I think this was partly part of it is black humour, and it's also part of the fatalistic way of accepting that some things just happen and are totally unexplained. And of course, they are still in circulation today. That people still know about gremlins, although quite often it's IT issues that we have gremlins in now. But also, I think culturally they were important to people during the war in the RAF because they gave them, they were funny. They gave them an artistic outlet. So there are several sources in our archive where there's poems written about gremlins and sketches and drawings and doodles and these sorts of things. So that's what I'm looking at as well.